Okay, let's talk about lighting. As I mentioned, so this is going to be just a basic introduction to some of the lighting that Unity provides with us right out of the box. We're not going to have a big discussion today about some of the more advanced ways that we can deal with lighting relative to the performance of our game on different hardware. But we will talk about that throughout the semester. We'll also talk about, as the semester continues, other aspects of the way that we use lighting to control the player's experience, to move them along in space, to create a mood. All of those things which are really critical, important parts of our experience playing these games. We'll continue to develop that vocabulary and pursue that kind of discussion as the semester continues. But for today, what we'll do is we'll just kind of start getting things set up so that you can start working with lights and thinking about ways that you might be able to use them to illuminate your spaces in your game prototypes this week, and also maybe direct the player toward the goals and away from conflict. So the first thing that we need to do, though, is we need to add the lighting tab to our workspace. And so we do that by going up to Window, and from the rendering option, we choose lighting. And I'm just going to dock this here next to my inspector. Again, we're going to not really think about any of this here in our default scene tab. We'll spend some time with this as the semester continues, especially as we're starting to think a little bit more about how to make these environments more performant, a variety of hardware. But for now, we're going to really focus our energy on just taking a quick look at the Environment tab. And the Environment tab is the place where we can take any skyboxes we've created and choose to set this as the default material. What that does for us is it allows us then to use these both in the background here of our scene, but also as a way of creating some ambient light in the space. We can set the source of the sun in our game here. This is what Unity does by giving us a directional light by default in the scene. And just as a reminder, so Unity by default does not set this color to a bright white. Instead, it's kind of like a creamy yellow color. And so if we don't go and set that, we'll always have some sort of distorted view. We won't have really pure colors that we're looking at. The other thing I want to point out here is that we can change our environmental lighting, so the ambient lighting we have in this space, from the skybox source to something that is more directly under our control. And the two options we have here is to work with a set of gradient colors. You can see as I click that, it really kind of like brightened things up. It created kind of a nice poppy sort of pattern just by designating, like, these are the gradient of colors that we're dealing with. This is largely, this environmental color is really going to be the things that appear in the shadows of things that you're creating. So it's going to be a little bit of color that happens here when the directional light of your space and the other lighting is obscured. We also have the option to set this to just a solid color. So for example, if I wanted to, I could change this to something like this, and you can now see what I mean. It's influencing the overall look of things, right? So every surface that's being illuminated by this is now being influenced by this color. But we are getting a lot that happens, particularly here in the dark areas, the shadows that we've created. We tend to have like the most one of the most dramatic effects. I'm going to switch this back to kind of a neutral gray here, just sort of default, but I am going to leave this as our source color here. The rest of these things we'll talk about, right? These will relate to the way that different surfaces reflect, how light reflects in the space. We'll talk about this as well, which will allow us to control some of the way that the feeling of our light in the space. We'll talk about fog as well. And how we can hide the edges of these planes and fields that we're creating, and how to work with that at some other time. So I'm going to switch back to the inspector now. And one thing that I want to do is that I want to just start by taking a look at this directional light, which again is created by default for us as our sun in our space. And again, it's set as a color. I've changed it to white here just to kind of neutralize it a little bit. And point out a couple of other things. Last week I mentioned that we can control the brightness of this light by adjusting the intensity. We can see again like the impact that has in either direction here. Our indirect multiplier affects the way that these lights will reflect from one surface to another. Anything below 1, the light will decay as it bounces from one surface to another. Above 1, it will kind of amplify that light. We took a look last week at really quickly how we can adjust the types of shadows that these lights are creating. Each individual light can create a different type of shadow. So for example, by default here we have soft shadow set up, so we have kind of like a nice like soft diffuse shadow that we're dealing with here. And we could decide to change that to a hard shadow, something that's like a nice crisp edge. Or we could choose to make this light simply illuminate things in space, but not necessarily cast a shadow on anything else. And that's nice if we're trying to use light in a way to illuminate surfaces as, to create a mood or, to draw attention to something, but we don't necessarily want to create more shadows. I'm going to switch this back to soft shadows. With our real-time shadows here, we're able to adjust the strength, right? So I'm going to maybe pull this back a little bit so it's not quite so severe. We can adjust how beautifully they're rendered to the screen. By default, we're not getting very high resolution. So particularly if you're interested in working with hard shadows, you may decide that you want to switch from the default quality settings in some cases to use a very high resolution so you can retain like a really nice crisp scene. Just understand that when you do that, it comes at the expense of performance. So all of these things, as we're going to see as the semester goes on, there's going to be a constant trade-off, more so than when we were even working in 2D. And so we're constantly going to be kind of like balancing and thinking about the platform that we're intending for this game to be played on in a way that we really haven't done up until this point. We can set the bias for our shadows, and essentially what this means is that we can adjust how far out from the object they are being projected. You can see here as I pull this, it starts to appear as if the shadow is receding into space or as if the object is pulling further away from that surface. You have to be careful a little bit with that because it can become difficult to actually see where you're heading. Okay. A directional light is just one of many basic lights that we can work with. It, as I mentioned last week, is a nice light in that it provides us good even lighting. It's easy to work with. It's the only thing that we're concerned with here is the direction it's facing. We're not concerned at all with like the location of this. It doesn't matter how close I am to a game object. It doesn't influence it in any way, right? So it's simply looks and sees what direction it's facing and then gives you nice even light cast in that direction. We can have more than one light in our space, right? So I could add another directional light if I wanted to here. And this directional light you can see is now like amplifying the light that I have before because we have two directional lights with a full intensity here. I'm going to change the color of this one and see if we can we can start to see it looks a little bit different. We can see the influence of the orange here really quite clearly and quite dramatically. I think it's sort of neutralizing those blue tints, kind of like a warming photography filter. Just like we did before, we can adjust the intensity of that. We can choose, like maybe we don't want this to cast a shadow, but maybe we do, right? Maybe we have things which look like they would be illuminated in our space, and we want to make sure that this is casting a shadow that it appears to be in response to it. So I could also set this like this, and you can see if I just rotate this a little bit. There we go. You can see the influence here. Now, you may be wondering why, if this color is set to orange, why the shadows are blue. It's a good question. So keep in mind what we're doing here. We are casting an orange light across our entire scene facing this direction. So the only things which are not actually getting that orange light are the things that are behind the objects that are having the shadow cast in those areas, right? So as we look at these objects, the light is being cast here, but this blue shadow is actually the original blue that we were dealing with, right? Before we added this additional color. Once again, we have bias that we could work with to just change the way this appears, or we could change the strength of these shadows. Maybe we want this just to be a really subtle kind of thing. You know, it sort of depends what our goal is here. We have a couple of other lights, just basic lights that we can work with quite easily here, and begin experimenting with how they work with our prototypes that we're creating this week. Now, the light I'm going to create next is a point light. So point lights are commonly used to create really very like highly specific, like in-scene light. For example, like a candle or a lantern or a street light, like that kind of thing. Maybe what I'll do is I'll turn off this directional light just so it's a little bit darker. And we'll take a look at this. So it creates a pretty large gizmo to begin with. That gizmo dictates the range of this light. It doesn't mean that you're going to just get a full sphere. It means that from its maximum point here at the center all the way to the outside, we're getting a nice range between that point and the outer point as well. That's set here, just like this. And you can see how as I get closer or further away from that surface that you can start to see the influence of this point light. This point light is emanating light in all directions. It's kind of an expensive light to use in real time, so Unity actually limits the way that we use these lights. And like in the default rendering mode at least. We can, through a combination of setting the range and the intensity, change just how that's affecting it. We can set the colors. And again, we can do things like adjust the indirect multiplier so we can think about as these scenes become more complex, like how light is reflecting from one surface to another. We can cast shadows. You can see by default we are not casting shadows. Again, it's an expensive process. Our point lights do something like render in basically like 6 passes at rendering to be able to like determine in real time how this light is affecting the objects in space. It's a lot, and so we want to try to limit that kind of thing as best as possible, and save it for the times that we really need it. I'm going to go ahead and show you one more light, and then I'm going to demonstrate some of the limits with the way that we interact with these lights in space here. I'm going to create a new light, which is something like a combination between both the point light and the directional light, and that's a spotlight. A spotlight is, just probably as you kind of can imagine, it is a light that acts kind of like a flashlight, right? So that we are able to take this light and, there we go, and focus on things ahead of us with it. And similar to a camera, it has its own cone of influence here. This influence, unlike a directional light, is limited in range, right? So I can choose to limit the range, and you can see as I pull this closer to the surface, the angle of the spotlight, or the size of it, it starts to match what's being projected on the surface. But again, because we're dealing with a range that is at its most intense here close to the light source, and at its least at the edge of this range, we're not getting by default something that is going to project very strongly here without adjusting the intensity. So you can see as I start to adjust the intensity, it starts to match up a little bit better. We can adjust the spot angle, which just simply makes this, this cone larger. And just like we did with all of these lights, we can just adjust the color as we want to as well, and use it as we need to. Again, we can use shadows with this. We want to be kind of mindful about using this in real time. But if we need it, we need it. So we can change this from like no shadows to casting a hard or soft shadow as well. So some of the limitations here are related to the default rendering mode that Unity selects for us. By default, Unity wants us to create work that could potentially work on anything from a phone to a really high-end gaming PC. And to do that, they've made some selections in terms of the default choices, which prioritize performance over quality. And so what can happen really quickly here is that if we don't make any changes to our quality settings in our project, is that we start to find that these lights turn themselves on or off based on our proximity or their visibility in the scene. They also, before that, will try to downsample the lights so that they become less distinct, less like circular, and more like really kind of sloppy cubes rendered flatly on the ground, which I'll show you in a second. I just want to go here and make sure that under my project settings that I've set the quality back to its original value, which is pixel light count of 4. So let's take a look at what happens as I choose to just make some duplicates of these lights in the scene here. And I'll put them in different areas. You can see the influence, which is nice, right? So it gives us an opportunity there. But you can already see what's starting to happen here, right? So like, look, we still see that there is some influence of the light here, but it's not as distinct as it was before. You can see as I've added now another one, it's the same thing. And depending on where it is relative to the camera in the viewport, these things are going to prioritize one or another. They're going to, again, prioritize the quality versus prioritizing the, prioritize the performance over the quality. We can accommodate this by changing the pixel light count, and this will affect the number of these lights that we can have on screen at any time. And also like how the quality in which they're rendered, right? So Unity won't typically turn them off completely. It'll try to scale it in a way so that the lights still appear in your scene where you put them. But again, further away, they're going to prioritize it in other ways. Approach this with some degree of caution, right? So we have the ability to go into our project settings and under quality to change this pixel light count. But keep in mind, again, depending on where you're going to target this, how wide of an audience you are looking to have play your game, like, whether or not you're thinking at all about the specs required, of the hardware that the player is using to play this game. All of these things have consequences relative to that. So it's something to keep in mind.